Hello friends and welcome. Katy here with Eastwicks Paper and Ink. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. Today I'm excited because I'm collabing with my friend Nancy May, the Handi Scandi, and we are using our gel press to create some backgrounds for Halloween. I am going to talk about my gel press quickly. That is Lawn Fawn acetate. That's what I store my gel presses on, and I actually made my own. Link for that recipe is going to be in the description box below. This piece goes with the one that you see there on the left. It was a 7x10 pan that I used, and I just cut the press in half to give me two pieces, so roughly 5x7 each. And I made these back in February or March-ish at the beginning of the year, and I immediately came up and used the one that is on the left there, or on the right, excuse me. You can see the ink splotches. I used some green ink, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just threw some ink on and used some of my Procyon dyes, liquefied them, and splattered it on. I didn't have a ton of time to play, and they've literally sat up here in the craft room for several months. The reason I'm mentioning all this is because I know a lot of people have concerns about homemade gel presses molding and needing to be refrigerated and things like that, and these do not. My craft room is about 78 degrees year-round, and these have no mold. There's nothing wrong with these things, and I certainly don't need to put them in the refrigerator. So link for that recipe is in the description box below. Product I'm going to use today, part of the product, is 91% alcohol. I wanted to try the Lavinia Multifarious cardstock, so we're going to try that. And I've got some Charming Pink, Monarch, and Bluebell Versafine Clair inks, as well as my blending brushes. And I'm going to use my blending brushes to apply the ink to the gel press. Now, this one person I've seen, I looked this up after I did this, and one person over at Fairy Hugs YouTube channel, she did this. I didn't even know, but she used oxide inks. And this technique is a little bit different if you happen to see that video or you go and check it out after. This one's just a little bit different and a little bit more specific. So we're putting down our Charming Pink. I use a ton of pink, and that's important. Then I've got a little bit of purple and a little bit of blue. And now I'm going to add 2-3 spritz of that 91% alcohol, and we're going to do our first pull. Now, you could use 70% alcohol. It's got a little bit more water content. That's the only difference. And so you just want to give it a few more minutes of that wafting to dry some of that water off. So here's our first pull, and it looks pretty good, I think. In between each pull, I'm going to take a baby wipe and take the very little ink left on the plate, but I'm going to wipe it off because I don't want to contaminate my brushes. So now we're going to do a second pull. Again, applying Charming Pink, Monarch, and Bluebell. I am not going to add any more alcohol. The first pull is the only time that I'm going to add alcohol, and what I would recommend you do as well. And as you see as we do the pulls, it's going to soften those splotches to make them not so bold and make it look a little bit more realistic for a night sky, nebula type night sky. As I do this and we get ready to do our second pull, Nancy's video is listed at the top of the description box below, so be sure and check that out. I'm excited to see what she creates because she makes some pretty cool Halloween cards. Okay, so that's our second pull. Now you could stop here. I'm going to go one more time. We're going to do a third pull because, again, all we're doing is deepening those colors. So if you like the way that the background looks at the second pull, you could stop here and you're done. And that is a couple of minutes is all that took. So again, Charming Pink, Monarch, and Bluebell, and I'm applying the ink in a circular dabbing motion. It is jelly, so you're going to have a little bit of a resistance, but I had no issue with using my blending brushes to apply the ink to the gel press. So I definitely be using this technique more, and I'll probably be coming back with some videos with some different color combinations in the future. So here's our third pull, and I just think it's perfect. But you see how it's softened up those, especially the larger splotches of that alcohol on there. This is the rest of the product that I'm going to use to create my card. So I've got these pine tree dies from Gina Marie. I've got a Studio Light stencil with some landscape and grass stenciling all in one stencil. And then I've got these Crafter Essentials Halloween die set from Cat Scrappiness. And I'm going to use the fence, the tree, the bats, and the two tombstones. And it comes with a pumpkin and a crescent moon. I've got the Toil and Trouble stamp set, and I'm going to use that Happy Halloween stamp that's in there. Now, the stencil here, I'm going to mask off that top piece of the grass. There's two different grasses, and I want to use this one that's a little bit thicker. So I'm going to mask that off, and I will tape that down, and I actually changed my angle because of the way I ink blend and stuff. But I'm going to use some Versafine Clair and Nocturne. And the stencil on here, the tines for the grass, is really delicate. So I'm going in a downward circular motion. I dab. It does take quite a few layers to get the depth and darkness of that black ink on there. But because the tines are delicate, going in a downward motion is going to keep those tines flat, and that way it won't mess up and ruin the stencil. Also, I want to mention that if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I would love it if you would. Ring the bell and select all notifications. That way you'll be notified each time I upload a video. And here we've revealed our grass. And now I'm going to apply some of that grass with the Nocturne ink to my tombstones. The way I'm going to layer those behind the fence, it's, I don't want the gray cardstock to be so prominent. So adding the grass, if you didn't want to add grass, you could just ink up in black. But you'll see as I put the card together that, you need to have something to not have the bottom of the tombstone stand out so much. So you definitely want to, if you don't want to do grass, add some of that black ink to the bottom. So the multifarious card panel measures roughly 5 3/4 by 4 1/8, and so the width-wise is 4 1/8, and I'm bringing that down to 4 inches, and then I'm going to take the lengthwise, which is 5 3/4, and trim that down to 5 1/4, and I just take a little bit off of each side to keep everything even. The Gina Marie stencils, the pine tree stencils, or dies, I created stencils out of, as you can see here. And I should have used a bigger piece of Mylar. I was just using a scrap. This Mylar is 7.5 mils. I'm going to link up to that, and the 6 and also a 4. I couldn't find a 5 in the opaque, which I prefer. But the 7.5 mils have been working really well with the dies that I've been using to cut it out of to be able to create these stencils. So I highly recommend it if you would like to take some of your dies to create stencils with. That 7.5 mil works really, really well. So just inking up the tall pine and the shorter pine tree to add to the panel. Now I could have die cut those out of black cardstock, but I wanted to keep it smooth, and why not? You know what, it just gives us other options with our dies to be able to use them in different ways. And if you don't have Mylar, just use a heavy cardstock. I've used that too, and I just wanted to try it with the Mylar, so of course I had it from purchasing it a while back. So here you can see where it's important that you have some black down there at the bottom of your tombstones, and that way it's not so stark. And this is pretty much the layout. I'm going to add a couple bats, and of course add the Happy Halloween stamp, but that is basically what our card base or panel is going to look like. Now I'm adding just some liquid glue down to the bottom part of the fence, and that way it'll be a little bit easier for me to adhere everything without everything, and then I'll go through and add some glue to the top part of the fence once I get everything put in its place. So here I'm just adding in my tombstones, adding a little bit of glue to the back. I did die cut the tombstones out of a gray cardstock and then also a black, and that way I could inlay the black rest in peace into the gray cardstock. And here my bottom of my fence got adhered down, so I needed to lift that up with my poker tool so that I could get, and I actually ripped the fence here, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue throughout and you'll never even know that it was ripped, which is pretty neat. And now I'm just gluing everything down, and then I'm going to go through and add my bats, and then we'll do our stamping. But I do want to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, now's a great time to do it. Ring the bell, select all notifications. That way you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. I also want to let you know that I left Cat Scrappiness. I'm not on that design team anymore, and I'm excited because that's going to open me up to be able to have more time to do videos for my channel. So I have a lot of projects that I'm going to be doing and uploading over the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to do one at least once a week for you guys. I'm really trying to grow the channel and get to that 1,000 subscriber milestone. So I would love it if you enjoyed the video to share it, like it, thumbs up it, and please subscribe. And don't forget to leave me a comment. Okay, so here's the panel. Now, like I mentioned, the width is 4 inches. So this is a landscape side folding card base. This is the Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock. And so there, I have a border at the top and the bottom versus the sides, the ends. And that, you know, actually worked out better because it brings out those tombstones a lot nicer. But that's going to finish it up. Link to Nancy's videos in the description box below. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next video.